Welcome to the AI Optimized podcast, the show where we interview entrepreneurs each week to uncover their journey, their strategies, and the AI powered optimization solutions they want to implement to build smarter and more efficient companies. Today, we have with us an amazing guest, a strong leader in the construction and landscaping world. Her name is Lindsey McGarry, and she's the owner of ALM Construction and Landscaping, just outside Ottawa. Her path is unique. She starts her career in social work, helping people through difficult situations, and then make a big life change. She entered construction, worked on the tools, learned everything, rebuilt the company, and grew ALM into a successful woman owned business in the region. What I love about her story is the intention behind it. After a car accident that forced her to stop for 6 months, she used that time to learn, plan, and design the business she truly wants. And today, she's not only runs ALM, she also wants to help other entrepreneurs improve their systems and build better companies. Lindsay, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start simple. Lindsay, you started in social work and ended up in construction. How did this happen?
I had a beautiful career in social work. I worked with women and children who were victims of violence, and I
Mhm.
loved that work. I loved being able to help them see that there was a future beyond where they were living today. What I realized over time, though, that I didn't love was the bureaucracy of working within the confines of tight budgets, government funding. And really having to say no to being able to offer more support to people. And
Mhm.
so, what it ended up meaning for me was I realized I needed to build a career that um, the sky was the limit, and that the there was nobody saying no but me. And so, from that, I also thought I really would love to build a business that women don't normally get to go into, to show other
Mhm.
women that like everything's possible if we're willing to do the work for it, and to make my own mark on it that way. So
Mhm.
I jumped into construction.
And what did you know? When did you know construction was the right fit for you?
Oh, that's such a good question. Probably years later. Years later, when I really felt like I had a level of expertise, because when I started, I didn't know much of anything. Years later, of realizing like how comfortable I was in my role in construction, that I went, oh my God, this is a great fit for me. I've attained a lot of the goals that I had set out to in terms of creating a space for myself in this industry, but then also realizing I was really good at it, and I have a great team that I couldn't do this without, who I respect and who respect me. And
Mhm.
I have clients that I've had since day one in 2013 that I still talk to today. Um, and so it's like you get maybe a moment of realizing that, but then you also get all these opportunities to really see that, you know, you're either still in the right place, or for some people maybe they're not anymore.
Sure. And did you feel the industry was missing a woman's perspective?
100%. So my business is 100% residential construction, which means we work directly with homeowners. And without that sounding very feminist, what most men I find in my industry never caught on to was that women are 90% of the financial decision makers in their home. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you ignore that fact and you talk to the male in the home, you lose out on this huge buying opportunity right there.
Mm-hmm.
So that became really a strategy for me is to like, let's go to the real boss, not the perceived boss, but I want to go to the real boss. That's who I want to talk to. I want to talk to the decision maker and I want to know what her needs are and how can I tap into that being a woman myself.
Mm-hmm. And that brings us to the company you built. For people who don't know your company, Lindsay, how would you describe ALM construction and landscaping?
So ALM, originally probably not the most creative name I could have come up with. It is the initials of my three sons.
Oh.
Um, but I built this for them. I'm 100% a boy mom and bonus mom, and I wanted them to have a bit of a legacy to watch grow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but just as importantly, that like again, women can do anything and be anywhere. So where I describe it today is we're a very boutique style construction company. I put in so much effort into the detail of building trust with my clients, and really hearing what their needs are and what their wants are, and trying to create a space for them based on that.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of projects do you focus on?
So we do, I would say 70% is hardscaping, so
Okay.
backyard patios and outdoor kitchens and walkways and driveways, and 30% renovations. We're moving more into the renovation side, but for now, that could be anything from redoing your kitchen or bathroom, putting in a new basement. I built my first addition this year, which was a new one under my belt. So um, that one's a lot more structural, a little bit
Mm-hmm.
bigger, but primarily my bread and butter is the outdoor landscapes and kind of one room at a time or maybe a floor at a time. Um, and that's really my niche.
And what do you think makes ALM different from other contractors?
Communication. So communication is like one of
Mm-hmm.
my core values, um, between myself and the client, myself and my team, my suppliers and manufacturers. Being really clear to communicate not only expectations but goals, um, and creating a safe workspace where everyone
Mm-hmm.
knows that they can come to me when they have something to say as well.
Mm-hmm. And what do you enjoy doing the most?
Uh, Selling to people. I love meeting
Selling.
new people. I
Mm-hmm.
love meeting with new people, and I love trying to figure out the puzzle of what it is they think they want and how to build it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my biggest love is people. Trying to just put a smile on their face, exceed their expectations, and pull together some really beautiful work.
Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about something you said in our pre-podcast call that was very, very strong. Because your story, it's amazing. You left your government job, and three
Mhm,
weeks later, you had a car accident.
mhm.
Um, how did that moment shape the business you have today?
When I left my government job, I jumped straight onto the job sites. And so I was committed to learning what I would be asking people to do. So I really have this belief of I'm never going to ask you to do something I won't do myself. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was in a car accident and I couldn't do that, I had basically 6 months to sit and think about, okay, what do I want to build here? Um, and so what that meant was what don't I know? What do I have to know? I'm a social worker. I know nothing about business. So I studied successful businessmen and women, and I studied how do they um, how do they decide what their success looks like? How do they measure that? What things do they have to know? How do they set themselves apart from others? Um, I studied everything I could. And I mean, when I say study, I read books, I went to YouTube a lot. I didn't necessarily want a traditional education on this. I wanted a real what's working in the world and what's not kind of education. And so from that, I basically started to make notes that turned into goals, that turned into action plans, and
Mm-hmm.
then looked at like, okay, what are the steps I have to take?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so from there, that's basically where it really kicked off. And the one thing that I saw was there's this thing called the red ocean strategy. Um, right? You've got the red ocean where everybody sits. And in my head, I didn't realize this till I studied it years later. What I took away from that was like, we actually have blue oceans everywhere. Everybody's in the blue ocean. How do I
Mm-hmm.
build a red ocean? And I know that that's not the strategy, but that's how I took it. How do I build a red ocean? And that's where the idea to market it as a woman owned, woman led construction company came from, was like, how do I set myself apart? Construction statistics, and I'm not going to speak to today's, the last time I checked was a couple years ago, but 95% of construction companies fail.
Mm-hmm.
And out of those 5% that don't fail, only 5% of them make a 10% net profit, which means that most of the work going on in the world today is done by people that are making no money at it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of crazy to me. So I had to look at how can I do things differently and how can I price myself so that I'm going to be here 20 years from now. How can I make sure that I am making a profit, that all this work is for something at the end financially?
So, do you think this moment with the car accident, was this the moment where ALM's vision became clear?
Absolutely. It's a pivotal moment of my life. It was where I can look back now and learn the power of intention,
Mm-hmm.
right? We all get up, we have our morning routine, we do our life, we go to work, we, feed our pets, we go on vacation. Um, and we do that kind of rotely. We don't really think about it too much. It's just what we have to do. And that life experience taught me that if I can intentionally choose everything I'm going to do in a day, then it's all going to serve a bigger purpose that I also have intentionally chosen.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And Lindsay, you became one of the Ottawa's leading woman-owned construction companies. So, how has this shaped your business and your leadership?
I think it shaped the business um, again by choosing to do things differently, intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
My leadership and my business itself is based on creating a really good work environment for my employees. I value them most. Um, some potential clients have a hard time with that with me, but without my employees, I don't have a team, which means I don't have a business.
Mm-hmm.
So my employees come first to me. That's not necessarily always the case. But for me, having those soft skills to create a safe place for people to work means that I've got loyalty and I've got people doing their best to work towards the vision that I've created. And then we get to create it together. Again, it's not necessarily something that's talked about in construction.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Um, Do you think being a woman, do clients react differently a little bit with you?
100%, all the time, all the
And
time.
has it been a challenge or an advantage?
I think both. I think I think people don't necessarily realize what their preconceived notions are. I think,
Mm-hmm.
I've had times where I've walked in and it's very clear that people think, oh, well, you're just a girl. What do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at the same time, I've had more experiences, I would say drastically more, of saying, thank goodness there's a woman who's going to hear me out, who's going to listen to what I have to say and what my hopes are for this project. Um, and then, just as importantly, to young women, I've had lots of moms show their daughters, see, you can be anything you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So what message would you give to women entering the trades?
Know who you want to be. I think who we want to be instead of what we want to achieve is a way more important conversation,
Mm-hmm.
uh, especially for leaders. How are we perceived? How do we want to show up? Um, I think construction as a whole has been led by, this iron fist and fear kind of boss mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I really think that it's time, and I am seeing a lot of shifting there, that it's time to, lead with integrity.
Mm-hmm. So how has confidence played a role in your growth?
Oh, that's a good question. I think no, confidence is a constant thing we all have to work on.
Mm-hmm.
I think being confident in yourself, um, and whatever your strengths are, you can lean back on that at any time. So I may not always be confident in an actual construction problem, but I am 100% confident in my ability to be resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
So I may not know the answer, but I'll know that I will dig until I find someone who does and get them on board to help me make the right next move.
Mm-hmm. And one thing you said about service really caught my attention. You told me when I stopped focusing on money and focus on service, my business changed. What
Yeah.
does service first mean for you?
So when I figured that out, when I learned that lesson, that was my first $1 million year.
Mm,
And what that meant was it does go back to numbers. I had to understand, what does it cost to run my company, with the overhead costs and the taxes and the employees. Again, I value my employees. I want to pay them well. I want to give them benefits. What does it cost to do that? Once I had that infrastructure built, that this was the amount of money that I needed to make, then that was no more a negotiable. That was just a cost. And I could then shift my focus to, how can I create the best customer experience with me? So, what that looks like is, I'm no longer competing with somebody for price. So in
mm-hmm,
Ottawa specifically, we have lots of companies that will undercut just to get the job. And I can't say that I wasn't one of them at the beginning, just trying to get my feet off the ground. But when I realized, actually, if I really build um, an experience for people with us, then they're paying for that experience. My costs are
mm-hmm,
covered, but what they're paying for is, um, like super focused to detail and availability from me myself, that they can access me at any time. They can ask questions, whether they're comfortable with it or not. I create this open dialogue. And again, the psychological safety that they trust my company and they're willing to pay the extra because they know that we're going to do a great job. And sometimes jobs didn't go great. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that happens. But at that point, what I learned as well was my attempt to fix the mistakes that we made, to show the client that I am committed to getting it to a place that they're happy with, meant that even when we messed up jobs, I often still got to keep those clients because of how we treated it at the end when things weren't going well. And we didn't stop until we got it to where the client was happy. And so
Mm-hmm.
those things became my focus, not trying to pay the bills at the end of the month because the money was just coming in and it was the client experience that I was focusing on.
And why do you think many contractors struggle with this mindset?
I think one of my big learnings in the last 10 years is that being good at construction and being good at business are two very different skill
Mm-hmm.
sets. I will never tell a client that I will build them something myself from scratch. They're not going to get a good job. I'm terrible in construction. Physically, I'm not there the way my team is. But what I am good at is business building. And I think that a lot of people in construction don't know that difference. And so they assume because they're good at building things and the construction part, that the business part just comes along with it. And then they realize a year or two in, there's not enough money coming in to cover the bills. And so
Mm-hmm.
they're only concerned with getting to the end of the month and getting the bills paid and then getting to the end of the next month rather than looking at the big picture of getting enough money coming in month after month that that's no longer your worry.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get
And
me wrong, it's not that we don't still worry about money. I want money to come in. I want to make money. I
yeah,
definitely want to make money, but it's no longer my primary focus.
the money is coming secondly. The
Yeah,
first thing, yeah. And today, your role inside the company touches almost everything.
yeah,
You literally said to me you do everything in your business side.
yeah.
What does a normal day look like for you?
A normal day never looks the same twice.
Mm-hmm.
I usually spend an hour, maybe two, in the office in the mornings when my mind is fresh. I usually actually first I would go see my team off in the morning. They're usually out on the road by 6:30 in the morning. And then I might go in the office for an hour or two. I might then take new client meetings if I'm going to go do an estimate or a sales. I might be at networking events because I'm really active in my community with that.
Mm-hmm.
I also am a leadership coach and entrepreneurship coach, so I'm often taking um, meetings with those clients as well. And then the afternoons, I love to go visit my site, again, meet new clients, whatever happens. And lots of time I get to do what I feel like because I've got free time.
And how do you balance o- office time and job site visits?
I'm really picky with how I spend my time.
Mm-hmm.
So I try and group things that um, make the most sense. So I live in the country, anywhere, usually my job sites are anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour away. So I will book full afternoons out on the road to go visit my site, meet new clients, do any vendor check-ins that I need to do, and then, so that's why I tend to do office in the morning because I have my office at home. I can put in an hour or two before I have to leave, and then I'm not kind of wasting time driving. I try and be, again, really careful with my time and really conscious of how I spend it. And driving is, uh, a, a, t- a s- I guess like a span of time that you can't really do anything with. You can't bill it out. You can make a few calls, but you can't really do too much with it. So I try and minimize how much time I'm spending in the car.
Mm-hmm. And Lindsay, you are a person with a lot of energy. It's been the second time I met you, and I can feel the energy through the screen. But which part of the job gives you the most energy?
Meeting with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
I love to meet new people. I love to see my clients when they're being happy. I also love seeing my employees when they're happy, which, maybe isn't the best on a plus 45 day outside, but I like being around people and I like trying to see how I can help them have a better life, whatever that looks like.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned in the first call two big trends in the industry. One is more focus on safety, and the other, not enough workers in the industry.
Mhm.
What changes do you see in construction today?
Um, I think I'm seeing, I mean, we're talking about it here as well, that um, there's a lot going on technology wise. We're seeing a
Mm-hmm.
lot of new equipment and stuff that are helping to alleviate the need for manpower on the job site. And I think that there's a bit of a mindset there that we are seeing such a shortage of people coming in. Um, and I'm trying to do my part there as well. I'm talking with um, Skilled Trades Ontario in the next couple of weeks and Ministry of Education to get more kids into trades co-ops, things like that, to get people starting at a younger age. But I think it's a mindset thing. So we're seeing this new technology come out, and I'm seeing owners talk, in a way to replace people with this equipment or technology. And I'm trying to see it and talk about it from a way of it's not replacing people, but I'm using it to make my people's work easier. If I
Mm-hmm.
can help their body out and make the work not so hard on them physically, it means they've got more energy to get more work done in the long run.
Yeah.
So I have invested a lot of money and will continue to do so into the newer technology so that at the end of the day, my employees aren't going home feeling, completely exhausted and broken physically. They're tired, of course, the work is hard, but I've done what I can to make their job easier so that they've got energy for the next day to come back swinging and still give me that 100%.
Yeah. So why is psychological safety becoming more important?
Psychological safety is becoming more important because I think that the old way is dying quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this whole, bossing through fear and kind of threatening attitude of if you don't do it my way, you're going to lose your job. Um, People are saying, okay, I'll lose the job then. I'll go work somewhere else, and so we're
Exactly.
losing really great people um, all the time, and a lot of people are not coming into the industry anymore. So another huge part of my job and my goals over the next couple of years is to have the conversations that we can change how we lead. We need to stop leading by fear. We need to start creating psychological safety. People need to feel a big one is people need to feel safe to speak up when there is a physical safety
Mm-hmm.
hazard, and not feel like if they speak up, they're going to be in trouble from someone because they've, exposed a weakness in the operations. Safety matters. Safety is important. I think we forget in construction that everybody's a person after they leave work every day. They've got a family, they've got friends counting on them, they've got lives, and those lives are just as or more important than what they do for a job.
Mm-hmm. So you feel leaders needs to adapt their style today of
I
leading.
think I absolutely think that. I think that there is a huge need for it. And I also know in my own coaching experience, I'm working with some big construction companies that are investing in it and investing in their leaders to
Mm-hmm.
learn new ways of working with their employees.
And where is the industry still slow to change?
I think the industry is slow to change in a lot of ways, I'll be honest. I'd say that's a huge one. That's a huge place, that we're slow, because a lot of people think, well, we've been doing it this way for 40 years and it's been working.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think there's fear in change, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
not sure what the outcome is. And so um, there's that. I think technology is another big fear, whether it's equipment, whether it's AI, like we're talking about today with you guys. There's fear in the unknown. And I think
Mm-hmm.
really that's what it comes down to is just fear drives a lot of resistance to change.
Yeah, because like we talked on another episode with another guest, we talked about this, that it it's been the same for years. So we're taking is the good way. So the fear of change getting installed. Yeah, yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good point. And
yeah.
but you said in your case, communication is your biggest strength and
Hmm.
your biggest frustration at the same time. So what
Yeah.
do you mean by that?
Well, with a background in social work, I think
Mm-hmm.
that communication is like a fundamental tool to any successful business. I don't care what business you're in. Um, it's fundamental, but it doesn't mean that you're always good at it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's my biggest strength, and I still have a ton of work to do. One example I always give is when somebody's being given direction on a job site, and then the foreman walks away, and an hour or two goes by, and you go back, and what he instructed didn't happen, and he doesn't understand why,
Mm-hmm.
because we're not necessarily understand like making sure that the person that's getting the instructions understands, right? Communication between um, myself and suppliers, right? Is there a strong line there? Is there an understanding of the urgency that we need material? Have I left it? In my experience, I see it all the time where, especially when I was starting out and starving for work and trying to work with everybody just to get the company off the ground,
Mm-hmm.
to be given a day or two's notice. We need you over there. There's repairs to do, and we've got the contract already. We need you there. Well, maybe that worked year one for me, but year two, I was like, I've got a 4 week wait list. I can't drop everything. If you've had the contract for 3 months on your desk, why didn't you loop me in then? Then I would have been
Mm-hmm.
prepared. I would have known. I would have blocked time for it. Um, there's those things that again, I don't think we think any deeper on than just how it's always been done. And so, because there's no thoughts on that, the communication breakdown happens everywhere.
Yeah. And what happens when a communication is good and what happens when it breaks?
Um, I think when communication is good, expectations are clear, and then the goals can be met.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that's really important to me and again, my company's small, and I kept it that way so that I could really get clear on what my systems were. But one of the things that changed for me was realizing I don't want just my foreman to know what's going on for the job. I want the whole team to know. Because if we silo the information, we lose the opportunity for the other smart people we've hired to help out in ways that we maybe didn't plan on ahead of time. So I think that that's, you know, something that can be worked on, that yes, everybody's at a different place within their company in a different role, but assuming that communication only has to go to one spot can really hinder our ability to see other people's potential.
Mm-hmm. And do you think most delays come from missing information?
100%.
And
always.
and how do you keep clarity between clients, suppliers, and your team?
Um, well, right now, I won't lie to you. That's what I'm talking to your team about later today. I think that really good systems can minimize the lack of communication, because the systems can help you do that without you having to think about it all the time.
True.
I still work with a ton of people that bring a notebook to a job site. That notebook, if it got wet or destroyed or run over or fell in the mud, all your communication's now gone.
Mm-hmm.
All your notes are gone, right? So um, if you don't have systems in place, it's really easy for it to fall apart. Uh, if the supplier doesn't get note that you need the materials and when you need them by, then your team shows up and they've got nothing to work with, and you're paying the labor hours and nothing's getting billed, and you're losing money.
Mm-hmm.
So um, to go back to that whole service versus money thing, money does matter. It is at the core, but being able to focus on the systems to ensure the money's going in and out when it needs to be, that's where my focus got really shifted to and strengthened.
Mm-hmm. And looking at the next year, where do you want your business and yourself also to be?
I want to spend, so right now I'm in a bit of a sweet spot that I like. But what I want to really focus on is really getting my systems nailed down so anybody could walk into my office and do my job.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think that's something that's like really important that we don't think about enough either, is if the key person in a company were to be in an accident or were to decide to walk away, because that's happening all the time, what would happen? And right now, I know in my own business, if I were to walk away, things would crumble fast within 30 days. And that to me is a really big red flag, that's where I have to shift my focus to. So I plan on investing in the systems within my business so that the communication is clear and it can run a little bit better without me. Because I also see I have my coaching business as well, and that's where I see a lot of growth happening next year. So
Mm-hmm.
for ALM, I want to get my systems clear, and I'm not too focused on growth this year because I think growth's going to come once those systems are put in place. I
Mm-hmm.
think that'll be my goal for next, like after the 12 months, my 24 months to like 5 year plan. That's where the growth's really going to hit on my next huge growth kind of
And
plan.
why is coaching your next step?
Um, I think that there's a lot of important conversations that need to happen in construction. I think it's a phenomenal industry. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
a vital industry. Canada's been in a housing crisis for a few years now, and it's not getting any better. And the bottom line is, despite knowing that I'm on an AI podcast, if the computers were to go down, Canada still needs to run. And
Mm-hmm.
that means we need buildings, we need sewer and water, we need roadways, we need that stuff to be able to live here in Canada. And we're getting into a real crisis. The boomers are retiring. The information's not being passed down to the next generation. The next generation doesn't want to do the work. So I think my coaching is kind of twofold. One, I want to help entrepreneurs be really successful, but just as importantly, more specifically to this, I really want to help create great leadership in construction so that we can get this
Mm-hmm.
industry really booming again and make it a great place to work, make it a first choice for a lot of people.
Amazing. And what type of entrepreneurs do you want to help?
Anyone that feels like they're stuck and don't know what the next step is. Um, a lot of entrepreneurs fail. A lot of entrepreneurs fall, and I think they just don't have the right support. Um, and I'm a really good success story. And just as importantly, it ties me back to that social work field of getting back into the world of helping people. Um, but my big distinction between the coaching and the social work I realized was with coaching, I got to help people that really want the help that want to level up, that aren't living in a place of trauma. These people are invested in making their future a better one. And I
Hmm.
want to help them design that and build that.
Do you want ALM to stay small on purpose?
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
designed it that way. That's not to say it can't get bigger, but I think that's where my growth has to happen because I have to work through how to get it bigger without losing the personal touch, and that woman led vision that I created it with.
Hmm. And we're on the AI Optimized podcast, so we're going to talk a little bit on AI on the last question. You
Mhm,
told me I love AI, but I don't know what I don't know. So,
mhm.
where do you think AI could help you the most?
I think AI can help me by taking a lot of the systems that I've put in place and running with it so that I don't have to be the one inputting the information. I think that it can streamline the work that I currently do to be able to provide the level of service, and free up a lot of my time to be able to do other things. I think it also makes my work better. You know, anybody that's ever used ChatGPT and said, make this sound better, it always
Hmm.
does, right? So, and that's a very simple use of AI, and I understand that, but it thinks of things beyond what I could think of. And that's where that I don't know what I don't know comes into. Like, I have ideas of what I think it could do, but I also am super excited to be blown away by things that I never thought possible that
Hmm.
it could do for my business.
I can give you some examples.
Yeah.
Do you want less office time? It can help you with estimating, better follow-ups, or just a better communication with the clients also.
Yeah.
Because if you could automate one thing tomorrow, what would it be that you would love the most to be automate, or even if you think it's not possible or whatever, what do you have in mind that if you could automate one thing?
So the one thing I nailed down to was the communication from an estimate to kind of stepping foot on the job site. So automating an estimate and then ordering materials based on that, creating a clear plan for what needs to happen on the job site and what equipment needs to be ready to
Hmm.
go on there, so that all the maybe 10 steps that I take, I can remove myself completely from it. And I oversee it versus working in it and doing all the work that I have to do to organize that, to ordering materials, dispatching the work, um, managing even timesheets on the work, like all of that I do within the systems that I've got. And I've worked hard to get my systems there. But if it could be automated, that would free up so not only time, but like mind space.
Hmm.
The mental load of carrying all of those things.
Exactly. The good thing is that it can be done.
Yeah,
That's the good
I
thing.
know it can, and I'm very excited to get into that more. I think as an estimator or salesperson, nobody thinks about it. And I say this to my team all the time. You're asking me a question that I bid on 5 months ago.
Hmm.
So I don't necessarily remember all the details. And so if there's something to grasp all those details from that point so that it's clearly communicated 5 months later, because my team is always focused on what job they're on that moment, right? They pull
Hmm.
up to a house, that's it. I have every job in my head for the next 6 months. So to take that mental load and take it off of my shoulders and into a system,
Exactly.
that that is my dream.
Hmm.
That is where I want to focus my next 12 months.
Perfect. Lindsay, thank you for joining us today. It was amazing to have a chat with you. You're full of experience. I love your journey from social work to construction, from a difficult moment to a strong business. It's really inspiring a lot of people, I'm sure of it. Your story will help a lot of entrepreneurs. Thank you very
Thank you
much for
so
being
much.
here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
To everyone listening, thank you for being here. If you like the episode, please like and subscribe to the AI Optimized podcast. Share it with the business owner who could benefit from it. And remember, AI and automation are not just tools, they are real competitive advantages. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week for another episode.